We are at 2 o'clock and we're at the starting time. So I want to welcome everyone to CadreTalk. My name is Dawn Penfold and I'm president of Meeting Jobs, which partnered with Cadre. And I first want to start by telling you a little bit about CadreTalk. We developed this series as an opportunity for you to grab a cup of coffee or take a short break out of your day. And our goal at Cadre and Meeting Jobs is to give all the meeting and event professionals an opportunity to learn something new in this conversation, even if it's just one takeaway. So before we get started, I have to tell you about us. Cadre is a cool platform and service offering a compliant, and the key word here is compliant, gig economy freelancer staffing model. I want you to think about it as a platform for event staff and independent contractors like Uber, and LinkedIn with a marketing opportunity like Google. Bottom line, if you're hiring event staff, virtual event staff, or longer term meeting or event professionals, Cadre is your source for you to find that talent that is affordable and compliant. And if you're a gig worker in our industry, this is your go-to place to find work. Now, Meeting Jobs offers industry-specific job board as well as services in retained search and resume pre-qualifications for events in the meetings industry. So together with Cadre and Meeting Jobs, we offer a full complement of labor of resources across the entire hiring spectrum, from full-time planners to project-based contract planners to event staff. And you can find us at hirecadre.com and meetingjobs.com. And we have a short 30-second video. Kate, hit it.
When the event industry gets knocked down, we get back up. With live events returning, maybe it's time to rebuild with a more flexible workforce. Cadre is the smartest way to contract event industry freelancers, compliantly work with your own freelancers, or access thousands of new faces from a single user-friendly platform. And with our addition of meetingjobs.com, post your full-time openings on the industry's premier job board. It's time. Get back up with us. Visit us today.
Anyway, go to Cadre, hirecadre.com and Meeting Jobs. So a few housekeeping notes. Everyone is muted and you're not seen. So there's no need to throw up on the extra makeup or make sure that you're presentable from the waist up. You're also encouraged to ask questions in the Q&A area. That's where we're going to be watching for them, in the Q&A area. And we'll address your questions at the end of the program if time is allowed. And I want to thank our friend Betty Garrett of Garrett Speakers International for introducing us to today's guest, Robert Tucker. So I'm going to give you a brief overview on Robert. Robert Tucker is a renowned global futurist and innovation guru with a client list that includes over 200 of the Fortune 500 companies. He's founder and president of the Innovation Resource Consulting Group. Robert is an internationally recognized pioneer in the field of strategic foresight and innovation. He's considered one of the founding thought leaders in growing innovation movement. And Robert is publisher of Innovation Trends and is a frequent contributor to such publications as Forbes, Strategy and Leadership, Bloomberg Businessweek, Innovation Excellence, and other publications. You may have seen him on CBS News, Channel News Asia, Bloomberg, Network 18 India, the PB series Taking the Lead, or as a featured guest on the CNBC series of Business Innovation. And now, I'm sure this is the highlight of your career, Robert, is you're now on CadreTalk.
All right.
So I've
so made it into the winner's circle.
You got it. And I'm so honored. Is there anything else you'd like to add about your background that I may have missed?
Not a thing. No, that does it right there. Yeah.
Okay, great. I just want to start the conversation a little bit about, you just did a piece on the comeback of the meetings industry, and it is coming back. I know that we're swamped at Cadre and Meeting Jobs right now, and we're all trying to get back that COVID cloud out of our head and get back to the normal thing. What makes you think it's coming back? What are you seeing?
Well, anecdotally, I see business starting to really pick up. And as a professional speaker, a public speaker, I'm part of the meetings ecosystem. And so I feel like today you and I are talking to folks who are part of the family, if you will. But the speaking side of the whole equation has been hard hit, extremely hard hit. I don't care what kind of smoke people are blowing or trying to continue to blow. It's been devastating, but
Mhm.
I've used it to really reinvent myself and to look at the future. I'm writing a new book on forward thinking, and as far as what are the green shoots or the early signs there, hard numbers are difficult to come by in our industry, especially for something that's developing or coming out of the pandemic so quickly like we are here. But I am talking to a lot of meeting planners and meeting professionals, and they're basically showing day to day a tremendous amount of new confidence in setting that meeting in November or fall or certainly next first quarter of next year. So I think it's exceeding all expectations. I mean, there was worry that there would be a residual fear about people, human beings getting together in one place, and I don't see that as taking place. I see sporting events and so forth beginning to return to their pre-pandemic level. So overall, I think the meetings industry is on the comeback. I think it's an industry that will survive all kinds of technological changes. Certainly there will be those. But I think that we are in the catbird seat, those of us in this ecosystem, because we have what people need. We have what business needs. We have what society needs. And that is we facilitate the coming together of people to discuss challenges and also opportunities.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I mean, we're finding more people are starting to hire, and people are starting to inquire and waiting for that. They're waiting for contracts to be signed. They're waiting for, and many people are waiting for that other shoe to drop. But I think they realize that shoe's not dropping.
Right. Right.
And so because of that, the confidence level, and as vaccines are rolling out more and more, I think they're finding the confidence level, it's coming back.
Right.
It's just, and I just wanted to bring up a little bit of innovation with it. I have found that the people who survived this the best were those that were innovators.
Right.
I mean, can you speak to that at all?
Well, survive this, yes, that's a good word for it. I mean, who was the philosopher that said that which doesn't kill me makes me stronger? And I think we're all going to be stronger coming out of this, especially if we've done things during the pandemic to strengthen ourselves. It's simply a matter of survival. Some of the things that are coming at us. We've had 10 years ago, we had in the meetings industry, we had the Great Recession. We've had SARS. We've had other epidemics in the past. That's why I'm so excited about what meeting professionals do. They are some of the most resilient people, some of the most innovative people, because you can't be in the meetings industry and rest on your laurels. There's constant uncertainty. There's constantly new crises and issues to deal with. And there's also constantly new trends that are emerging in the industry that have to be dealt with, plus a great amount of competition. I mean, if you're having a meeting in the public sphere, now I realize some folks on the call will be setting up meetings inside companies for internal, and those operate from a different platform, need structure, whatever you want to call it, rather than those of us who must attract people to meetings. But I see some of the trends or the themes that will be prevalent, that will be huge, having to do with, still, how do we define this post-pandemic environment? How do we thrive and prosper? How do we become more resilient? The whole issue of managing risk, I think, is going to be huge. It's not really a sexy title, but it's something that has to be taken into account. I think the next pandemic has already started, and it's climate change, and it affects the meetings industry just like it affects every other industry. But how do you put a positive spin on that? How do you find the opportunities that are inherent in adjusting to the climate challenge? But it's definitely started, and it's out there.
So, we had brought up and we talked a little bit that you found that meeting professionals were really adaptive. They're able to roll with the punches. Um, can you give me some, for those who struggle with that?
Well, picture I'm in my hotel room. I'm working with this group, but I'm not speaking until tomorrow morning. But they're having their reception, and it's out on the beautiful lawn of the resort. And it's about an hour to an hour and a half before the big event. And there's suddenly, on this, what was moments ago a beautiful sunny day, there's this storm that has just erupted, right? And because I know her or him, there's the meeting planner down there, right? And I see them just, calmly going about, okay, we got to shift into the inside. We've got plan B here. And that is my metaphor, Dawn, because they're just my heroes. I mean, I've literally watched them work. They have to form relationships with so many new people every meeting, right? They have to negotiate, they have to flex, they have to deal with, in some cases, international kinds of issues, currency and local
Well,
regulations and so forth.
yeah.
It's just they never can get in a groove where they can sort of dial it in, phone it in. As we say, it's my head is off to them because of their flexibility, because of the need to have a winning personality and to be able to orchestrate all of these moving parts. And it's getting more and more complicated by the day in this industry.
Well, I think one of the big terms that have come out of the pandemic is that our industry, we're meeting producers. We're not
Right.
planners anymore. We're producers because
Well, that's right. That's exactly
we're
right.
pulling people in from pulling things in from all different areas. I mean, the traditional meeting professional and event professional always had that fire extinguisher on their back, ready to put out any fire that came along,
Right.
or to run inside. I mean, one of my first meetings many, many years ago was literally we were outside in that garden area and there was a cloudburst and I had to move 500 people indoors
Right.
and there was not a ballroom to move into. And we closed every restaurant down in the hotel, moved them in. And the irony of the whole thing is that the sprinkler system went off as everybody was running inside. So if the rain didn't get them, the sprinkler system. So I'm running trying to get the sprinkler system off. So yeah, we are an industry that has to stay calm
Right.
in that, and we're adaptive. And I think a lot of it, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, the adaptive when we had to move to renegotiating contracts, going to a hybrid model, going to a virtual model, to become understanding pandemic safety rules on site as we're all now getting together. And that's adaptive. That's the adaptability. You talked a little bit about the themes. And it was really interesting. It kind of was an eye opener when you said the next pandemic would be climate change. What other themes are you seeing that you think will emerge from the pandemic?
Well, I guess some of this is my hopefulness, but I think a more civilized approach, let's say, to business. I think right now capitalism is under assault. We have great income inequality in the U.S., and I think some of these massive racism, I think some of these massive issues, can no longer be shunted off over there while we have our meeting and just kind of tune out the reality of what's going on in the world. So I see a more integrated approach here. And that's why I mentioned this notion of risk management, because, I work with leaders. I'm often speaking to leaders. Most of the budget goes to people who are movers and shakers that get to go to the meetings that I get to speak at. And so it becomes incumbent upon me to speak to leaders about leadership. And this is really the challenge of our time, because we desperately need leaders, right? So I'm in the business of, or the profession of, helping leaders to lead and to do it in a higher quality way. And I think one of the things that's going on right now and coming out of the pandemic is we've all had a little chance to introspect. We were going 95 miles an hour down the road without our seatbelts on and, without airbags and so forth and so on. And it just kind of caught up with us. And we realized this is bigger than just the pandemic. This is bigger and won't be just healed or over or in the rearview mirror so quickly. It's been a sea change or a potential sea change for
Yeah,
all ways.
Yeah, I have also, all of a sudden, the word empathy has
Big,
been
huge,
key, a
huge.
big word and action in our industry where, sadly, I didn't see it there as much before.
Right.
And I think now empathy is a key word now that I hope is here to stay.
I definitely agree with that. I think empathy is one of the most endearing and necessary qualities that we need to develop in ourselves. It sort of takes us off of the road.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, you know, our meeting professionals, our meeting producers, to use your new term there, have a real role in the evolution, the transformation, because these meetings are about looking at issues and looking at the trends and trying to help people to
Yeah.
basically profit from those. So you and I and the folks on this call are in the epicenter of what I think can be a very strong social movement here to deal with some of these inequities in society and some of this unsustainability. You know, we have this thing of, oh, we're living in times of uncertainty, you know, and I really think it's more, we're living in times of unsustainability. And so there's like these tipping points that are out there in the future. We're driving 90 miles an hour. It's like there's, you know, so healthcare is unsustainable. Our use of single-use plastics is unsustainable. Our income inequality issue, where we have 3 people in this nation that are worth as much as the bottom 50% of the population. So these are all kinds of things that'll auger in. But I think from a bottom line standpoint, you've got to manage risk better. You know, you've got to see how that next trend or that pandemic or whatever it is up the road there coming at you, how you're going to deal with that and how you're going to deal with that creatively. But you don't want to just, you know, crawl in a hole and get away from risk taking, because innovation is if you're going to be an innovator, you part and parcel have to take risks. Right.
With the empathy issue, a hiring official the other day was posting a job, and they said the person must have empathy. And I asked them, how do you judge empathy during an interview? How do you qualify it? How do you qualify that? And I kind of, it was the wrong thing to do to a client, because it made them feel like, I don't know. And you never want a client to feel that way. But I'm going to ask you the question. How would you qualify empathy in somebody if you were interviewing them for a job? And I'm sorry, I'm just throwing a question to you that we didn't
Not
talk
at all.
about.
Yeah, no, not at all. I think I would look for their overall demeanor. I think you can sort of gauge pretty quickly. I'm 67, so maybe I could say I gauge pretty quickly people's orientation. Is it about themselves? Are they sort of looking at how they're coming across? Are they nervous about, you know, are they impressing me or not? Or are they more concerned about looking around my office, let's say, and maybe finding something to remark on, something that shows that they're trying to absorb me as a person. Mm-hmm. That would be sort of my quick take on.
That's a good point.
But, you know, empathy is important, but there are what I call I skills, innovation skills, and the folks on the call probably have these in spades, because they're essential to really being effective in the meetings profession or the meetings industry. But they're what I wrote about in this new book called Innovation is Everybody's Business. I wrote about the I skills.
Let's talk about that. You have a spectacular book called Innovation is Everybody's Business. Can you bring it up and show people? Do you have one
Well,
right
I possibly can here.
there? There it is. And
Kind of
I
washes
think
out.
in the chat, there's going to be a way to order that too. But why do you think innovation, or why do you think it's for everybody? How are you defining innovation? This is your expertise. We have 10 minutes. Go for it.
All right. Well, you asked a lot there. I think the subtitle, though, kind of begins to answer your question, because it's how to make yourself indispensable in today's hyper-competitive world. Indispensability comes from knowing about how to get new things done. As we say, meeting professionals can't fall in a rut and just phone it in. Just do the same thing they did last year, because that won't work. People want novelty. They want to have the latest trends, the latest changes, and so forth. So really, if you look inside yourself as a meeting professional, right, you begin to see that you have certain skills that others may not have, right? Jobs that are being routinized, that can be routinized by software, by technology, those jobs over time are going to be automated. They're going to go bye-bye. But your job and the work that you're doing is not. And so the way to maximize your career, the way to get ahead, if you will, to use an ancient term there, is to tune in to the I skills and to the ones that maybe you're a little not so efficient with or proficient with, because we all have strengths and we all have weaknesses, right?
What are some of those I skills? I love that term, I skills, or innovation skills that you've identified.
Well, the ability to come up with the ideas that you need to solve the problems that are before you, right? Many people get derailed by, oh gosh, what are we going to do about this? But if you have a few techniques, just a few techniques for coming up with ideas. For example, I'll just give you one very.
No, I want like a bunch. Tell me.
All right. Well, I mean, let's say you're in a space where you're kind of feeling defeated. You're feeling, I don't know that I'll ever be able to solve this problem. What I want you to do is take out your pad of paper and just write down 10 things that you could possibly do about that. So get the possibility thinking part of your brain working, right? Force yourself to come up with 10. If you're having a meeting and you have colleagues, get them to come up with all the different sorts of ways. Now, this is not a new technique. It's called brainstorming. It's been around since the 30s.
Or decision tree analysis, we learned.
Decision, whatever your favorite tool or technique is. But what you want to do is to get yourself out of defeatist mode and jump into opportunity mode or innovator mode, right? Innovators are dreamers that do. Innovators are dreamers, are people that come up with ideas and bring them to life. Then they come up with some more ideas and bring them to life. They experiment, right? So be willing to experiment. Every meeting you plan, do a little something different just to see how people react to it, right? Try something new out. Those are the kinds of things that innovators do. They're the kind of people that volunteer. Hey, there's this special something or other challenge. Is there anybody that would be willing to help us out on that? Volunteer, because you're going to get new experience, the chance to have a new experience there. And your resume is basically a collection of all the things that you've accomplished of that sort. People don't care what you've done that's just routine. They care what you accomplished when there was this problem, and here's what we did about it. Here's how we met that challenge. So your ability to assault your assumptions, your ability to come up with ideas, your ability to persuade other people that this is the course of action that we should take. I call that building the buy-in. I did a tour of Asia before the pandemic, and I had people rate themselves on these 7 I skills. And by the way, Dawn, let me just take the time out here. I know Kate is going to put in the chat room there the URL for this free assessment of your innovation skills. Go to that, check it out. Takes about 10 minutes or so, and you can see which of your I skills that you're strong on, which of your I skills that maybe you want to work on. So let's just say, because this Asia tour that I did, consistently, people rated themselves poorly in being able to sell their ideas to their colleagues, to their boss, to their to their employees. And so, that's an area where in the book we talk about how to do that. We could get into that, but that's an area that takes a little bit of doing there. So those are some of the I skills.
Yeah, I would also imagine another skill would be if something went wrong, if you did something wrong, having the ability or the innovation to correct the problem and learn from it.
Right.
Because there's so many people, there sometimes are people out there who will just say, oops, this happened, but
Right.
not correct it, not come up with a
Right.
solution. And
Right.
solution orientation is also very important in building just your learning skills and your solution skills and showing that you're a leader too.
You're absolutely right. And, we used to spend in these conferences, there would always be there would be modules or keynotes on basic customer service kinds of skills and how to handle those. And we're losing those. Amazon it's all automated. You don't talk to human beings ever. Other companies are copying and saying, hey, we're not going to have any phone numbers published, so you can't call us, you can't contact us. It's a whole different world. But the meetings industry is still high tech, high touch, right? So there's still this interface. And it's like you say, it's how we resolve issues. Because people at conferences are going to have frustrations. They're going to have crises. They're going to have disappointments. And it's how we help them, how we nurture them. That is the takeaway quite often in the value delivery of that meeting. I mean, it's everything that surrounds the content of that meeting. It's the people-to-people interaction. And as things become more automated in our lives, everything from the way we buy gasoline to the way we purchase products and services, to the way we bury the dead. I mean, I've worked with the funeral industry, and our competitors in the funeral industry. You can do everything one stop. You can do it by computer. You don't have to talk to anybody, right? And
I know.
bury your grandma or your mother or whatever, and it's just a very impersonal world. But the meetings industry is still a personal world. And it's how you solve the problems and help people with customer service, like you're saying, John, that really differentiate.
That's great. Well, Robert, I promised you this would be the quickest half hour of your life, but I know you must be, just from this conversation, must be an amazing keynoter. And I know that anyone can learn more about you and hire you through Betty Garrett at Garrett Speakers. But do you offer any other consultation or presentation, like do you do workshops or, and how do we reach you? And hold that book up again.
Well, twist my arm, babe. They're on that, Don.
But
yeah, so here's the book. I don't think you can read it though on the screen there. Can you read that?
Yep.
Yeah, it just washes out. It's Innovation is Everybody's Business. It's published by John Wiley, and
where
available.
We can get that on your website?
Actually, Amazon is better. I mean, you can go through the website, but it will take you to Amazon. So there's one. And so as far as other services, I do a lot of keynoting. I'm doing a lot of work on this post-pandemic environment and seeing what's next. So helping people with strategic foresight, because business leaders and other leaders really want to have a better sense of what's coming next. And so there's a lot of demand on that. I also do strategic planning and leadership retreats. I love to do those. You go off to the conference center in the woods, and you just bring people together. Those are the result of one heck of a lot of planning, and they're often transformational. I can think of no better time than to do such a thing as that right now, as we try to emerge from looking at what do we do to solve today's crises and problems, to looking ahead. Where do we want to be in 5 years? Where do we want to go in 3 years?
How do we build?
Right. How do we build that future? How do we create that future that's desirable rather than the one that will just arrive by default? So I'm doing a lot of that, getting a lot of requests for that. I'm writing a new book on forward thinking. If you want to participate in that, I am interviewing lots and lots of people. I'm surveying people. I'm finding that is very nurturing to my discovery of how to position this material. So I would love to have anybody that wants to participate in that. And I'd like to interview you one-on-one or have you fill out a survey.
I'm raising my hand right now. I would love to be part of that.
Okay. Great.
So-
That's wonderful.
Okay, great.
And that's about, I do all sorts of day-long seminars do with innovation, with driving growth through innovation, or innovation is everybody's business. So there's a personal development aspect to my work, my practice. And then there's also a corporate work or a team, a kind of a focus with regard to innovation.
Okay, thank you again. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the conversation. It's been wonderful getting to know you while we've been planning this. And again, everybody, thank you for joining us at Cadre Talk. We're on summer hiatus. We're not going to have another Cadre Talk probably until a month. And I think our next speaker is going to be Diane Devitt from, and many of you know Diane Devitt, and she will be talking about, well, if you know Diane, you never know what she's going to talk about, but we'll get some details down from her. And we'll go from there. Everybody have a wonderful 4th of July weekend, a safe one, celebrate well. And thank you very much for coming to Cadre Talk. Bye-bye.